Jangan kau ada lewat sini. Bertapa mak di sini. Awas. Awas jangan sentuh kak. Ada wudhuku. Mulai deh, mulai. Yang link baru itu.
Siapa tahu bisa kan kakek begini.
Belajar mah jadi dosen.
Tidak ada nih. Tidak ada. Masih ada 2024 pendidikan? Tidak ada nih. Tidak ada yang mau mengaku maksudnya. Ada ya, tapi lesehan jadi.
Ada pak power bank? Nggak ada. Kalau bank power nggak ada. Iya iya iya. Mantap ya. Kita cek dulu. Iya iya. Oh gila jadi. Enggak, yang tadi itu. Yang itu baru. Nah. Tuh, tunggu datang. 3. Tuh.
Pendaan.
Sebentar punya agak jaga. Ada kabel tak? Oh, kabel cas dia. Jaga ini. Iya. Anakku, luar biasa anakku ya. Saya jalan-jalan dulu ya. Iya.
Harus nih Pak. Tunjukkan dulu Pak.
Sudah beri. Sudah beri terkaca turunan.
Sudah. Tertutup ini dari yang disuruh tadi.
sudah ada nih.
Cek cek 1 2 cek. Halo, ada feedback. Cek. Luar biasa Nanda aku semuanya. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Sekira ini pecahkan rekor muri ya. Kita tepuk tangan dulu semua. Saya kira untuk pertama kalinya ada kegiatan Wislecam. Kimia saja tidak semembludak begini. Itu ketua prodinya di sana. Nanti saya panggil nanti saya. Pak dekat di.
Iya.
Sedikit. Nggak dapat ke rambut kalau sempit. Nggak dapat rambut. Nggak dapat ini.
The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar, Profesor Dr. Andes Wardi Anas, MSc PhD. The Honorable all Vice Deans of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar. The Honorable the Head and the Secretary of Physics Department, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar. The Honorable the Head of Physics and Physics Education Study Program, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar. And also all of the participants joining our event today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let's raise our praise and gratitude to the Almighty God who still gives us mercy, blessing, and health so that we are able to attend our event today. Gas Lecture 2024 on renewable energy, water, waste, and recycling, the new circular economy. My name is Sucinda Rafika Swandi, and I feel so honored and delighted to be here in front of wonderful face today to be your master of ceremony for the rest of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open our event today by reciting Basmalah. To begin this event, let us first stand for the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. We kindly ask all attendants to please stand.
Indonesia, tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibuku. Indonesia, kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita berseru, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka.
of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. Thank you. Please be seated. To officially commence our event, I would like to invite the Dean of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar, Professor Dr. Andes Suwardi Anas, MSc PhD, to deliver the opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Andes Suwardi Anas, MSc PhD.
Baik, permisi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, to give my appreciation to our esteemed guest speaker today, Professor Martin from Murdoch University. It's right? Yes, Australia. And also Professor Tania Urmi and Professor Jacqueline Bloch, also from Murdoch University. Thank you, Professor, for your coming here. Dan ini yang satu spesial dari bukan Institut Teknologi Surabaya, Institut Teknologi Senior ya. Surabaya itu banyak orang yang salah. Ini adalah profesor kita yang hebat, tidak salah, pernah di Australia, pernah di Jepang. Dan saya ingat pertemuan pertama itu berkesan buat saya dulu. Ya, makasih. Welcome to Universitas Negeri Makassar, and now we are at the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. Yeah. Thank you also to all participants, mainly Professor Associate Professor Subair and Dr. Abdul Haris, the head of Physics Department, who facilitated this event. Also, Vice Dean, all Vice Deans, come here, head of department, all lecturers, and all students come from 12 study program. Yeah. Not only from study program of physics, no, but from 12 study program. Come here. As the Dean of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar, I esteem, may gratitude to all guest professor. Jadi semua tamu kita profesor ya, 4 orang. Ya. For your willingness to share your knowledge and expertise about the tema. Our tema today: renewable energy, water, waste, and recycling the new circular economy. Ada yang bisa bahasa Indonesia kan? Coba satu orang. Ya. You can translate the meaning in Indonesia. Masa tidak ada? Saya tahu Anda tahu maksudnya, cuma tidak bisa dengan bahasa yang bahasa Indonesia yang disempurnakan ya. Jadi kira-kira saya juga tidak tahu Pak, nanti Pak Bayar yang lebih jelas. Jadi energi terbarukan, air, limbah, daur ulang. Mohon maaf Prof Yani kalau salah. Kira-kira bernilai ekonomi baru ya, prospek baru untuk berbisnis atau nilai ekonomis, kira-kira seperti itu ya. Jadi ini kira-kira maksudnya. Jadi I think this topic is very interesting to be discussed today, and I hope all participants can use this chance to ask and discuss to our professor today. We have a 4 professor today. Our guest, I will introduce a little about my faculty. Yeah, the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. In this faculty, there are 12 study programs, and all of which have been accredited excellent. Yeah, excellent from Indonesian Independent Accreditation Agency, sama Bu Prof Yani ya. Jadi semua 12 program studi excellent. Ya, sehingga dapat penghargaan jadi universitas. All excellent accreditation. And 3 study program, biology, geography, and chemistry education. Yeah, chemistry education holding international accreditation ASEAN from Germany. Yes. The number of students around 6,000 from bachelor program, master program, and PhD program. Jadi ada 6.000 ya. We have 265 professor lecturer in this faculty, 295 lecturers in this faculty, and we have 67 full professor, the largest number of professor at UNM. Yeah, this faculty. And many lecturers and alumni have obtained academic and research degrees overseas, including Australia, USA, like Prof. Zubair from Australia, USA, Germany, Japan, Taiwan, Malaysia, Netherlands, Thailand, China, Barcelona, and other countries. Yeah, our alumni now study and as a lecturer in 15 countries in the world. Yeah. Therefore, our faculty potential for engaging in meaningful teaching and research collaboration. Jadi, Prof. Yani silakan sampaikan ke tamu kita bahwa sangat layak untuk kerjasama mendampingi ITS. Ya, karena bagaimanapun juga itu kami tidak bisa menyamai ITS. Ya, Bro ya. Masih jauh ITS, tapi untuk level Indonesia Timur ya bisa lah mendampingi UNAS. Ya, UNAS juga hebat ya. Tapi UNM sebagai mantan IKIP saya kira bisa lah ya, terutama Fakultas MIPA. Kami tidak takut mengatakan bahwa Fakultas MIPA adalah fakultas terbaik di UNM. Ya, karena itu tadi profesor terbanyak. Indikatornya Prof. Yani kan kalau sudah 100% akreditasi unggul dan internasional kan 9 indikator diukur di situ. Ya, nanti bisa dijelaskan ketemu kita. Saya tidak bisa jelaskan dengan fasih bahasa Inggris yang seperti itu. Kemudian dosen terbanyak 265 dengan profesor terbanyak juga di fakultas ini. Jadi sangat layak dengan peneliti hebat seperti Associate Professor Zubair dan all lecturer I think. Ya, jadi seperti itu. Therefore, once again, thank you very much, Professor. We hope this lecture can bring benefit for all of us and our faculty and university. Ya, terima kasih adik-adik semuanya. Silakan nanti bertanya dan bertanya. Cuma sampai jam 11 saja, only until 11 o'clock. Your time, very short time. Ya, jadi hanya sampai jam 11, dimanfaatkan dengan baik. And finally, I officially open this guest lecture even by reciting Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya, selamat menerima ilmu dari Universitas ini. Terima kasih. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to the Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science for the opening remark and officially open our event today. Before the next agenda, we would like to invite everyone to join us for a group photo with our speaker. Please come forward for the photo session. Thank you, everyone. Please return to your seat. Now, we will start guest lecture on renewable energy, water, waste, and recycling, the new circular economy. The session of the lecture will be led by Mr. Subair, PhD, as the moderator. He is a lecturer from the Physics Department, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Makassar. In this session, we will have an outstanding academic as a speaker, Associate Professor Martin Anda from Marduk University. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the session to the moderator. Please welcome Mr. Subair, PhD.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning, Professor Lo, Professor Tania, Professor Januarti, and my best friend, Professor Martin, Pak Dekan, para wakil dekan. First of all, let us thanks Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, for all His blessing and mercy, so that today, this morning, we can get together in this room in order to have a good sharing knowledge between our professors from Marduk University and ITS Surabaya, with all the academia from Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Makassar. We are very lucky because not all these professors have a time, like this one, If this event is heard outside, I believe that they are going to be jealous. That why, how come that this faculty can bring all professors from different countries for that event. When I talked to Professor Martin, Prof. Loh, and Professor Tania, I feel I was in Murdoch University. I did my master's degree at Murdoch University in 1992, and then I graduated in 1994, and working as a research assistant at ZBB company, dealing with the battery production under the supervision of Professor Philip Jennings. And he's still, I asked Professor Tania this morning, Professor Jennings is still active, 2 or 3 times to come to the university. And I have a very good friend, Professor Chris Lam, who helped me a lot in the computer program at the time. So let us have a bit nostalgia about a reunion of Murdoch University. All right, now all my colleagues, physics lecturers and other departments, as well as all students from different study programs, welcome to this guest lecture. And I will make sure that today not only Professor Martin will talk, but also Professor Januarti will give you a little bit information about her research and the opportunity to join her as a colleague or students in her institute. And I will also ask Professor Tania to mention a little bit about her work at Murdoch University, as well as the opportunity for all of you who wants to pursue PhD program under her supervision or under her guidance, and Professor Loh as well. Professor Loh can speak Bahasa Melayu a little bit because she was born in Malaysia. So that some lecturers here actually graduate from Malaysia University Kebangsaan, University Teknologi UTM, Teknologi Malaysia, UTM. So we are quite familiar with our friends from Malaysia in this faculty. Professor Martin is the head of the environmental engineering, and he is working for more than 30 years in that department, working and traveling around the world, including the rest. I think Professor Tania joined him in 2019, right? Yeah, in Makassar. So Professor Tania has been here for twice. Professor Martin is not only twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, more than that. So Prof. Martin is already familiar with the Makassar and the culture of South Sulawesi. So on behalf of our Dean, welcome to the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. Okay, I think I don't have to delay anymore. I will invite Professor Martin to deliver his talk around 30 or 40 minutes almost, and then we will have another session of question and answer. And then I will ask Professor Januarti, Professor Tania, as well as Professor Loh to give a little bit remarks on this event. Okay, Professor Martin, time is yours. You can stand up, right? And I think the slide is ready, so that you can just show your slide over here. Then you can talk freely. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Selamat pagi, everyone. Selamat pagi. It's very nice to be here in Makassar. And thank you to your Dean, Professor Suwati, for having us here at UNM. It's a very nice opportunity to see you all again. I did come here once or twice before to see Professor Soubert and his wonderful work that he's doing with this amazing geopolymer concrete that he has developed. So it's wonderful work that you're doing, Professor. And it's good to be here also with Professor Denwatu. She has come from Surabaya, ITS, and already we have started working together on some projects. It's wonderful to see the exciting work that is underway in Indonesia. We are trying to do this work in Australia as well, and I will explain a little bit about this in my lecture over the coming 20 or 30 minutes, and we hope from this we can make some new projects together. It's great to be travelling here again with Professor Tanya. She is a professor of energy at Murdoch University, and Tanya and I have worked together many years, so it's good to be travelling with her again. And we also had a new, exciting new program start at Murdoch University in the last couple of years, and Professor Jacqueline Lowe, she has brought some enormous new energy to Murdoch University. Even though she's not a professor of energy, she brings another type of energy, which is human energy. And she is leading the new Indo-Pacific Research Centre. So this means that we can do many more projects. So not only with our STEM subjects, our engineering, physics, chemistry, maths, but with Professor Lowe, we can now work closely together with the humanities as well, and the political sciences and so on, and all the great projects that they're doing there, many in Indonesia as well. So we have many colleagues at Murdoch University that are working. And you know, we have many similarities too, because I learned that Makassar is about 2 million people, and Perth, Western Australia, is 2 million people as well. And this university with 50,000 students, and at Murdoch University we have students, so we are not as large as UNM, but you know, we have some exciting programs, and I think even more exciting when we start working together with you. So we're looking forward to these great projects. Now, let me just say a little bit about this first slide. Professor Soubert had asked me to talk about this topic this morning: renewable energy, water, waste and recycling, and the new circular economy. And so these subjects in a way are all interlinked in my area of environmental engineering. And so these have been topics of great interest to me for the last 30 years. And I've worked in many projects on these topics around Australia. And in the last recent years, even more exciting, being able to come and work closely with Indonesia on some of these topics. And even more exciting, here in South Sulawesi, there are some very important new industries coming. And this is what I wanted to focus on today in this talk. And you can see here in this photograph, this is a photograph from Perth, from the air, a particular area called Kwinana. And it's the Kwinana industrial area. And this photo is focused on the heavy industry core. And it has been developed there since the 1950s. And it generates about $16 billion per annum of income for Western Australia, and it employs about 30,000 people. So this is a huge economic and social boost for Western Australia, this industrial area. But it has had many environmental impacts over the years and caused many problems for the environment. And these are the type of issues and challenges that Murdoch University has been very involved in the marine science, in the ocean there, trying to understand the impacts and how to resolve these. And on the land as well, if you see in the left there, there is still some forest and wetlands, you know, the nature that is remaining. How can we better manage this and work with this? These are some of the projects, especially in the environmental engineering and the environmental sciences, that we have worked closely with over the last 30 years. So we have to transition this area. We have to transition this area to a more sustainable future. And so this is where we have a lot in common together. So we can see here in South Sulawesi, similar sort of industries that are emerging. The new battery minerals industries, big nickel mines, in Bantaing, in Morowali, and in the north of Sulawesi. So we can learn a lot from each other, the different experiences, how we manage these. And this is what I would like to talk about in this lecture today. If we can go to the second slide, please. So this is a point I wanted to make from the very beginning, is that Australia and Indonesia, we have many factors in common, many things we can work on together. In both of our countries, we have a lot of coal, a lot of fossil fuels, and we are both working together on this, the energy transition, how we can get there. Both of our economies are highly carbonised. So in other words, we burn a lot of fossil fuel in our industries, in our cars, in our homes, and we are contributing to the global warming and the sea level rise. And one of the projects actually that used to bring me to Makassar previously with my students under the Australian government's New Colombo plan was dealing with this water issue. And I wasn't going to talk about this today, but because I'm talking more about circular economy. But what I will mention is some of the previous trips I did with my students here were to tackle this issue of global warming, which causes sea level rise. And you have many islands around Makassar, 15,000 in all of Indonesia, but many around the coast of South Sulawesi. And with the sea level rising, you get the saltwater intrusion, and the people's drinking water in the small villages on these islands, they have to start having plastic bottles because the water in the well has gone salty. So we were working with some of these communities using a solar-powered seawater desalination device, and seeing if we could develop a business model, how this technology could be used on the islands and manufactured here in Makassar. But then COVID hit, and we had to stop that program. I'm hoping one day we could restart it as well. Maybe some of you would like to help me. We have to start this solar-powered seawater desalination. But that's another talk for another day, because one of the key topics I wanted to focus on today was this industrial activity. You can see the mining there of coal, you can see the power station, and we're now talking as well about the battery minerals industries, like your nickel industry here, and how we can better manage the waste disposal. So this is what I'll talk about in terms of circular economy. Next slide, please. When I was talking about carbon emissions as being the cause of the global warming and the sea level rise, and then having the impact on those islands for their drinking water, there's a very nice new software called Climate Trace, and you can log into this. It's only just started, so it doesn't have all the data yet. For example, that Kwinana industrial area I showed you in my first slide, that's not even in this global database of carbon emissions yet. We don't even have the Kwinana industrial area on this, but it does have some other important sites, including many here in South Sulawesi. You can see here that's the total global emissions there. It's about 60 gigatons per annum, and that's the total amount. And as a result, we now have about 1,000 gigatons in the world's atmosphere, which is what causes the global warming and the climate change. And so this is what we have to try to reduce to zero. Can we get it to zero? It may not be possible very soon, but as you know, Indonesia has a target to become carbon neutral by 2060. In Australia, we want to do that by 2050. We hope we have a target to get there sooner, maybe 2035, but this is a very difficult challenge, and you will see this in the slides, how difficult it is going to be to achieve these goals, and the enormous amount of work that we have to do, and that includes all of you. When you graduate from this amazing university, there are so many jobs out there that you can work on that can be related to this. to help deal with this challenge. If we go to the next slide, please. And this is just one example. So you can see here at the power station where Professor Jacqueline, Professor Tanya, and Professor in Perth, where we get our electricity from, and this is producing about 3 million tonnes of CO2 per annum. So an enormous amount from our electricity. Next slide, please. Now if we come to South Sulawesi, we can find a site here as well. And this is only about 2 million. I think this slide here, if I can see it correctly, is one of the power stations. Yeah, down near Bantaeng, one of the coal-fired power stations. So you can see that's generating about 2 million tonnes per annum. So a bit smaller than ours, but you have several power stations burning coal here, and we have several in Western Australia as well. So you can see where these emissions are coming from when you go on this nice website. It's actually created by Vice President Al Gore. You know how he became a bit of a climate activist? So he then later developed this website. If we go to the next slide, please. Now, more what I'm talking about is in my work with Professor Subir on this geopolymer concrete, which is actually a low carbon alternative to this one here, which is a cement plant. Just north of Makassar, you have two very large cement plants, Bosua and Tonasa, and they are generating enormous amounts of emissions because they're also burning coal, like the power stations. So they're also burning about 2 million tonnes per annum, each of them. So once you start to add up all these industrial sources of carbon emissions, you very quickly get to that 58 billion tonnes per annum. And this is really what we're all dealing with. How do we fix this problem and transition from the fossil fuels to the renewable energy? And of course, this is what Professor Tanya has dedicated her life to, you know, looking at these renewable energy forms. If we go to the next slide, please. So, that was just the introduction, and these are the topics that I wanted to talk to, because Professor Subir, he asked me to talk about circular economy in relation to water, energy and waste. So therefore I thought I would give 3 case studies for you, and each one in a way is related to the Kwinana industrial area, and then how we then jump to Sulawesi for that. So I just wanted to try to join the dots on those 3 topics that Professor Subir asked me to talk about, and they are all going to be related to this one industrial estate, and then I can just give you some examples of each one. Next slide, please. So what is circular economy? Well, you know, the first time I came across it it's a very nice concept, and I thought it was most nicely demonstrated by this butterfly diagram. See, UNM has butterfly buildings, circular economy has a butterfly diagram. So you can see that here, and basically what this diagram is telling us is circular economy is a lot more than just recycling. You know, maybe in some ways it's an old concept. We want to go back even to reusing some of the clothes or bags or cars that we think are old and we should throw it away and make a new one. Well, this model is also encouraging us to repair, reuse, repurpose, and only at the end to do the recycling. This is what the circular economy concept is telling us. So the question then is what, especially in the work that Professor Subir and I are doing in this geopolymer concrete area, is what does a circular economy mean for the building and construction industries? And does that also mean it should have a low carbon footprint? These are some of the questions. And can it be done with waste derived materials? You know, so the really exciting material here that Professor Subir and I are looking at closely now is the nickel waste from the nickel industry. What can we do with this? There are some good opportunities. And then once we've made these products for the building and construction industry, what will happen at the end of their life? How do we make this a circular economy? And so in the 3 cases I will give, focused on this Kwinana industrial area, the question is, can industrial symbiosis help us in this transition? Okay? Because you have some big industries coming to Sulawesi, enormous industries. You know, I heard of the French are coming here to mine nickel. The Chinese are coming here to mine nickel. The British are coming here to build a battery factory. You know, so there's an enormous industrial developments that are coming. And how do we manage this so that we you know, can manage this safely for the people and for the environment and for the planet? And can we learn from each other what has been happening? Next slide, please. So the first case study I'll give you was I did with my good colleague at Murdoch University, Dr. Biji Kurup, you can see there. And she is originally from Kerala in India, and we worked very closely for many years. And this one I will tell you is about water industrial symbiosis. So because Professor Suba asked me to touch on the topic of water as well. Next slide, please. So there again you can see the Kwinana industrial area. Enormous area of many heavy industries, you know, like bauxite refinery, petrochemical industries, cement and concrete industries, and now the new lithium industry is coming there. So we're getting some big lithium processing factories there. The power generation, power stations are there as well, so it's enormous. It's actually divided up into a number of different areas, each having different types of industry. So for example, that yellow area there is the heavy industry core. And in the north, you can see that orange area. This is like a marine industry. They're building ships and boats there. And then in the southern part there, the green, this is light industry, so small factories, this type of thing. So these are the different types of industrial areas in that site that I'll talk about. Next slide, please. So in amongst all this, there's some water desalination plants and there's some wastewater treatment plants as well. And these are the ones I'm going to talk about now for this case study. So the director of this whole industrial area was Chris Oughton, and he came and did a PhD with us at Murdoch University because all those years working there, he developed this new concept of industrial symbiosis, which was a four-dimensional model. And you can see here he published a paper on this. And this was the first paper he published towards his PhD. Next slide, please. So, what this slide here is telling us, this pie chart, it's just telling us the different sources of water that are used in the Kwinana industrial area. And you can see there that big blue slice is groundwater. In other words, the industrial area is taking the water from the ground, they're pumping it from the ground. But over time, over 30, 40, 50 years, this had a big impact on the natural environment, on the interior, the wetlands. The natural wetlands, they started to dry up because the industries are taking so much water for their process operations. So this was a key focus to try to address this impact on the environment. How can we fix this? And so there's two examples in here showing how industrial symbiosis is used to address this water issue. We go to the next slide, please. So we're going to try to look at two different solutions, how to address this. The first one is, I'm trying to remember which order am I going to address the successful case study first or the failure first? This is what I've got to try to remember now, which is coming first. I forgot which one's coming first, but we'll soon find out. Okay, so this is the buffer zone around these industries. These industries, they produce a lot of air pollution. So it gets very smelly. So they have a 16-kilometre buffer zone around it. And the challenge for the industries is to stop the land developers coming in there and wanting to cut down the trees and build more houses. And then when more people come and live there, then they start complaining because it's very smelly. But they shouldn't have been living there in the first place because it's right next to an industrial area. So the buffer zone is very important to manage around an industrial area, you know, so that you can protect the health and the quality of life of the people that are living near. You don't want the people to live too nearby because it can be very noisy as well. Next slide, please. That area, that buffer zone, is also where there's many parts of the natural environment, the natural ecology still functioning. As you can see here in this picture of this wetland, with many birds and animals and beautiful animals that you may love, like a snake. Who likes a snake? You You like the snakes?
No.
We have many poisonous snakes living in there, but you don't need to worry. They're just doing their own business. Now the problem is this wetland is drying up, okay, because they're pumping lots of groundwater. So this is the asset, the environmental asset, that we need to understand how to protect this. If we go to the next slide, please. And this is what's happening, okay? And this is a bit similar to what I was explaining before about the islands around Makassar, how the people's drinking water is slowly going saline because of sea level rise, okay? And this is the same thing that is happening there. As the industries are pumping more fresh water from the aquifer, you get the saltwater intrusion coming in from the ocean, and the water goes saline over time if you take out too much. It's getting recharged by the rainfall, but the other problem that we have in Western Australia is the climate change. And the climate change in Western Australia is a drying climate, so we get less rainfall every year. And so we had to build seawater desalination plants. So we take from the sea now, and we desalinate that with reverse osmosis membranes to produce about 50% of the Perth water supply. And this is about the same as the Middle East. The Middle East, because it's very dry, they have many seawater desalination plants for their drinking water. And this is what Western Australia is becoming with climate change. It's drying up, the whole place. And I learned recently from Professor Suber and other professors here that there's similar changes happening in Sulawesi. You know, the rainfall patterns are changing here as well. So we have to look at this very carefully and understand how we can address this. Of course, in the short term, it's very challenging, but in the long term, this is why we have to reduce the fossil fuel combustion. Next slide, please. So this is how we try to deal with it in Western Australia. We build these very large desalination plants in that industrial area to suck in the ocean and put it through the filters and provide the fresh water. And these are using enormous amounts of energy. Again, so we try to run these plants on renewable energy to try to reduce the consumption from fossil fuels. So many parts of the world now are having to do this, to build the desalination plants because their rainfall is starting to dry up. Next slide, please. The next thing that happens is that when Jacqueline and Tanya and I, when we all go to the toilet at Murdoch University, not at the same time, but at different times, when we flush the toilet, all of our toilet waste is going to this wastewater treatment plant in Kwinana, okay? It gets pumped south, and it's going down to that Kwinana treatment plant there, and then it gets pumped out to sea. And so all of our wastewater in Perth gets pumped out to sea, but it could be recycled, okay? And this is one area we could look at for that problem of the drying groundwater. Okay, so this is just one opportunity. If we go to the next slide, please. So this is when we have flushed our toilets and washed our hands in the hand basin at Murdoch University. This is where all of that sewage, all of that wastewater is going, and it's getting treated there, and then at this treatment plant, and then it gets pumped out to sea. So in Makassar, you will have a similar treatment plant like this as well. Next slide, please. Then this is where it gets pumped out to sea. It's a special designed pipeline, and even though we are drying climate in Western Australia, we are still pumping out all of this treated wastewater out to the ocean, and it could all be recycled. We are recycling a little bit, but we need to do more. If we go to the next slide, please. So here's a little bit more detail about this ocean outfall. It's where we pump out all our sewage into the ocean, and meanwhile, the industries right near this, they need more water, but we're pumping it out to sea. So, you know, this is a lost opportunity, and this is what we try to address in this solution finding. Next slide, please. So these are all the components of the Perth wastewater treatment system that get connected into that. They call it a stool because that stands for sepia, depression, ocean, outfall, line. So it's just one of those funny acronyms that people want to make. Okay, so they call it stool, and it's a big long pipeline. All the wastewater treatment plants connect into it, and then they pump it out to sea. And meanwhile, the industry's right next to it, and they've lots of water. So it's a lost resource. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one dimension of industrial symbiosis. I know you can't see all the details in this picture, but and I'll only show it quickly, but the point I wanted to make is just to show you how one dimension of industrial symbiosis works. What it is an exchange of products and byproducts between all those different industries in there. So, for example, there is one industry there producing some, could be producing some waste lithium residue. This residue at the moment is being taken 600 kilometres inland for disposal. But as a waste material, it could be recycled into concrete. And there are many industries already happening like that. What this is demonstrating is that there are 175 different product and byproduct exchanges happening already. And this is why this is the world's best example of industrial symbiosis. There is only one other place in the world that is operating maybe better than this, and it's an industrial estate in Denmark, in Europe, called Kalundborg. If you ever want to look at this topic in more detail, you have a look at a place in Denmark called Kalundborg. So this is just explaining you one aspect of industrial symbiosis, how you can make it work so that your industrial estate becomes more sustainable. You know, what is your neighbour's waste can be your feedstock, your input. This is the point that this diagram is trying to make. Next slide, please. Okay, so in this one, what we're trying to do here is, this diagram is just showing how we can take the wastewater out of that yellow pipe, okay, the blue pipe, sorry, and we want to take that out and we want to treat that and recycle it and then recharge it into that groundwater aquifer on the right there. You can see basin, and use that to recharge it. This diagram is telling us this was the proposal to do that, to take that wastewater that was going down the pipeline, getting pumped out to sea. We take it, we treat it to a high quality, you know, like in Singapore. In Singapore, they recycle all the wastewater there and put it back into the drinking water. You know, this is how Singapore is able to manage a very successful water system. And this is what we try to do here and in this diagram. Now let me go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is just actually this is the success story. Yeah, now we're doing it in the right order. Okay, so all right. So what happened was we have this is just sorry the diagram is so small, but I'll just try to explain it. What happened was we have several chemical industries in this industrial area, and they are producing chemicals like chlorine, which is used as a disinfectant in the drinking water supply. Same thing will be happening here in Makassar. To get your drinking water supply disinfected, the public water supply, you put chlorine in a very, very small amount. And this will kill off any bacteria and make it safe for the public to drink. So in this diagram, what is being explained is how the companies in Kwinana were working together during COVID. So when COVID hit, many of the industries had to stop. But we cannot stop the water for the people. People have to keep drinking the water. And you have to keep it safe. So you have to keep making the chlorine. And so during COVID, what happened was a number of these companies in the Kwinana industrial area, they were able to work together and find a way of exchanging like surplus processed steam, different processed products, and they were able to keep the chlorine factory going and keep the disinfectant material keep going into the water supply, because people are already getting sick from COVID. You don't want them to get sick from having contaminated water. So this is one example that was very successful that came about during COVID and was able to produce the disinfectant needed for the drinking water supply. So this was an example of a very successful part of industrial symbiosis on the water side. Can we go to the next slide, please? So here, the final model was developed in his PhD as a result of understanding all of those industrial symbiosis successes, well, and the one failure model. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is where I missed something out. Sorry. Can we go back 3 slides? 1, 2. This one here. So, okay. So this is why. This is the other failure story. I wanted to tell you 2: a success and a failure. So the success was keeping going the disinfection industry of the water supply. The failure was this one. The industries wanted to take the wastewater from going down the pipeline out to sea. They wanted to recycle that and put it back into the groundwater aquifer, which is signified here by the yellow, and then they will have more groundwater to pump up. Okay? Now, the regulators, and this is why it's so important as we start to develop this new geopolymer industry from waste materials, the regulations by your government Department of Environment will be very important to understand, because this is why this project failed. It's an example of a failure because they wanted to recycle the wastewater, put it back into the groundwater and store it there so that you can pump that up later and use it in the industries. So they reduced their impact on the groundwater and those wetlands picture that I showed you. But the regulators, they were worried about some chemicals going in there. And it was very much an overreaction. But it was a failure on the part of the proponents that wanted to do this project to effectively discuss with the regulators to find a solution. But the project failed and stopped. So this is a big shame. I mean, one day maybe we can come back to it. But this is why scientists and engineers cannot work in a bubble. They must work with the social scientists and the environmental scientists to really understand the issues properly that are beyond just all the STEM subjects that you're studying. The physics, the chemistry. When we go out into the world and we want to use our knowledge of physics, chemistry, mathematics, and we want to use it to solve some of the great challenges, some of the big problems that the world is facing, we have to be very careful to talk with the social scientists and the regulators and the political people to really understand how do we get this new solution through? What are the issues that we also need to address? And that's an example of why I wanted to show you how this project failed. Okay, so that's case study number 1. Thank you. I better move fast. In the next 2, can we go to the next slides, please? In the next case study. Shall I stop there in case there's any questions? Do you want me to stop there, Professor Survey? Or should we keep going to the end? What do you like to do?
I think we should stop now. Now it's probably 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah, so you want me to stop now and I hand over to Jacqueline and Tanya?
I will manage to.
Okay.
Stop now, but we will have your questions.
Yeah, would you like to have some questions? Any questions for my case study number 1?
Ibu dan Bapak serta teman-teman semua dan anak-anakku sekalian, kalau ada yang ingin bertanya, if there is anyone of you want to raise a question and you cannot say in English, you can say in bahasa Indonesia, then I will translate it for you. Don't worry. Silakan ya. Pak Agus mungkin bisa mulai. Okay, good. If you have to speak English.
Bagian bawah. Ya.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's interesting presentation. I highlight some point of your presentation. My question focusing on the renewable energy. Yeah, based on your research experience, can you elaborate some points that related to the biggest challenges in renewable energy? Because in your presentation, I just saw only one point, which is energy storage. Yeah, can you list another point and how to deal with the problem? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and in fact, I'm really glad you asked this question because I want to use this as an excuse to now very quickly go to case number 2, which is exactly this answer. If we can go quickly through these slides on this, because this is your question on renewable energy storage. Next slide, please. Next slide, because this is all about that coal power generation. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, now this I think might highlight the issue of your question. Nick, press again, please. Okay, so this is a battery energy storage system which we need to store renewable energy. Next slide, please. Okay, some more details of how it works. Next slide, please. Using lithium. Okay, we have the world's biggest lithium mine in Western Australia, where we come from. But we need Indonesia's nickel as well to make batteries. Okay, so we need the nickel as well. Next one. Yeah, this is how the battery works. Next slide, please. Okay, this picture here is, you can see those 2 big black power stations there are the old coal-fired power stations in Kwinana, which are now shut down. And in front of them, because there is so much spare land, in the foreground are very, very, very big batteries that have been built there. Oh, this one is in Kwinana. We have more coal-fired power stations in Collie as well. But this one is in Kwinana. These big batteries were built because there was so much solar power coming on the electricity grid, it wasn't being used in the middle of the day. So these big batteries were built to soak it up. But I think your question is about what will be the issues, the challenges in the future for this. How are we going to dispose of these lithium-ion batteries at the end of their life? There is so much of it. Next slide, please. And then, because all the people are putting solar power on their roof, we have, what are we up to now, Tanya? We have 600,000 dwellings in Perth, and we have about... Yeah, so we have about 200,000 of these rooftop solar systems in Perth, and this is a big focus of Professor Tanya's work. And again, what will happen to these solar panels at the end of the life? We have been installing these solar panels in Perth now for nearly 20 years. Soon it will be getting up to 20 years since the early 2000s. They reach the end of their life, just like those batteries, and then we start throwing them out. What can we do with all this waste? Next slide, please. This is what will happen. It is ending up at the rubbish tip. This will be a huge environmental impact and a waste of really important precious metals. Next slide, please. So, next slide, keep going. Keep going, yeah, and this is where all the lithium comes from. The mine, next one. The processing, next one. And then to those big batteries that I just showed you. Next slide, please. And then people are now starting, not only put the solar panels on the roof, but they also put the home battery systems in there. Next slide, please. And then this will all end up at the rubbish tip. After 20 years, all of those things get old and they'll go to the rubbish tip. This is a big issue, I think. Maybe this is part of your question.
Yeah, I think that I think that is part of my big question. I mean, if you can list another issue, except energy storage, for example, intermittency, etc., something like that.
Exactly. Well, the intermittency is you see the solar panels up on the top there. We have an energy output curve like this, okay? So the sun rises in the morning and the output from the solar panel increases at noon, reaches its maximum, and then comes down. This is one aspect of intermittency of renewable energy. The other aspect of intermittency is here in Sulawesi, you have a big wind farm at Jeneponto in the south and a big one in the north. In Sidra, you have 2 big wind turbine farms here. And intermittency is when the wind blows strong and then the wind slows down and goes low. And so the power output changes with the wind changing. And the power output from a solar panel is changing when the clouds are coming. And it's changing when the sun is going up and down. So this, I think, is my simple way of explaining intermittency. Is it right? Is that right? So this is why we have to build a big battery to store it during the peak time. But as an environmental engineer, what I'm really interested in, what do we do with the waste at the end of the life? Now I have a plan, and I want to discuss this with Professor Super, you see, because he's making now the geopolymer concrete with all these amazing waste materials like the fly ash from the power station, the nickel slag from the nickel mining, but the nickel and our lithium in Western Australia is going into batteries, and then silicon is going into the solar panels. So in 20 years' time, in Sulawesi, but in the next few years in Perth, we're going to get in so many new waste materials. So Professor Super is going to have a new job. Can he integrate all these new waste materials from the batteries and the solar panels into his new mixed designs of geopolymer concrete? This is the new work that we are starting. So already, if you look at those solar panels on the roof there, in Perth we have the first solar panel recycling company now started. And they have a very nice website called WA Solar Recycling. And they say most of their metals and so on are recycled. But the solar panel is not just metals. It has plastic and polymers and glass, and they don't say anything about that. And do you know why? Because most of it is going to the rubbish tip and being wasted. But what Professor Super and Professor Januati do, they know the techniques, how you can convert that into some type of precursor or filler for a geopolymer concrete. So that when we drove here this morning from the Unhas Hotel down the freeway, and we went down and big concrete structures, all of that is made with virgin materials, you know, from Portland from the Tanasa factory, or Portland cement from the Bossawa factory, and all the stones and the rocks. This can all be the recycled geopolymer of Professor Super and Professor Januati. And in the future in Sulawesi, when you start building all the solar panels and the batteries like we have in Perth, all of those, when they come to the end of the life, can go in the concrete as well, instead of being buried at the rubbish tip. I mean, of course, we want to take out the good metals, because there's silicon, silver, sometimes even gold. We want to take that out and recycle it. So this is how we are trying to get to a circular economy. And these are some of the issues that we're trying to address. I don't know whether I answered all of your questions, whether I brought up all the issues, but this is some of the issues, as I said, you know, from the point of view of an environmental engineer. Is it okay?
Yeah, thank you for your answer. Actually, I still have another question, but I give
Okay, any other question from the other side? You wanna?
I can add with the answer that he wanted to know. So the renewable energy with the solar, that intermittency problem that Martin did, and that's a big problem because we have this dark curve in the middle of the day. We need to do something for it. It's just going to waste. That's from the electricity side, not like the end of life side. But what is also happening is, you know, when the cloud is coming, sometimes we don't know, we can predict, but the electricity system need to predict what is coming in the next 1 minute, or sometimes just 10 seconds. So we are doing also looking at the sky camera in 2 different sides and read the clouds beforehand when it comes to the skies. And then tell the utility the clouds are coming, so be ready if there is a need for, you know, boosting another, say, a gas-fired power plant or a battery need to be kicked on. So that's how we are solving the problem, the renewable energy, because internet is the biggest problem. Thank you.
3 orang datang.
Di drop saja jadi.
Ya.
Ada di kantor.
Ada di kantor.
Okay, thank you for the chance and thank you for the very informative presentation. I'm Putra Ardani from Physics Department, International Class Program of Education. I'm very interested in delving deeper into recycle energy. If you don't mind, I would like to ask a question. Imagine we have a sophisticated method to transfer plastic waste into clean and efficient fuel, but this creates a dilemma. Is it better to use this recycled plastic to make new products, or should we just turn it into energy? On one hand, the recycled plastic, if into energy, could make this if transfer energy into waste plastic, we could make reduce waste and generate clean electricity. But the other hand, if plastic turn into energy, we can use it materials for new products. So, in your opinion, what we should determine the right choice? Is there a way to utilize either one, or utilize to both option without either one? So that might be all. I'll hand it back to moderator. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
This is a really great question, and I know Tanya will have an answer too, because she is a professor of energy. I will just answer it from the perspective of an environmental engineer, and it's a very good question, because I often take my students to Bali as well, and there we have a good colleague that graduated from the course that Tanya and I ran in 2019, REF. And he takes lots of plastic materials around Bali and converts the waste plastic that people are throwing away. He takes it and he converts it into a diesel fuel. So he runs the diesel engine on the plastic waste. But yours is a good question, because I think you're asking the waste plastics, should we recycle them and burn them for more energy? Or should we recycle them and maybe use it to make furniture out of, something like this? So this is what I do with my students. When we have to make choices like that, we do what we call options analysis. And we do life cycle assessment.
Yes.
Something like this. But we also have to work with people like Professor Jacqueline, because when you take up what's called a multi-criteria assessment of the options, you know what sustainable development is. Like, one way of interpreting sustainable development is, we sometimes call it triple bottom line analysis. We have to have the economic, environmental, and importantly for Professor Jacqueline, we have to have the social. So we do the options analysis using a multi-criteria assessment, and using, maybe in a very simple starting way, those 3 points. What are the environmental issues, what are the economic issues, and what are the social issues? And it may vary from place to place, because maybe in some places the people don't need to use the recycled plastic for energy. Maybe they would like to make furniture instead. If you go to a village in the northeast of Bali called Desa Les, there all the women are collecting the waste plastic, and they put it through an extrusion machine, and they make plastic thread from the recycled waste plastic, and then they weave baskets. And then they are selling the baskets in the market and making money for their village, for their income. So each place may have a different solution, because it was down in Klung Kung province that REF was taking the waste plastic and putting it in the diesel engine. So you can see 2 different places found 2 different solutions. So maybe every place will have a different solution based on their own evaluation of the options. So maybe different from place to place.
Thank you, Chris. I just want to say that probably the student who asked you a question has the potential to be your next student.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Is we need to do research on your questions, or there are different tools and methods that we could use to answer your question. But I invite you to do that research, and we are happy to, help.
Nanti daftar ke saya lah. Oke. Nanti kasih rekomendasi ke Prof. Tania atau I just ask her that if you want to join them, you just ask me and then I will give you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let's go IELTS 6.5, then you are free to go.
Scholarship.
Yeah, good. Any other question? No, we will stop now. Sorry, because we still have 3 speakers. I have to stop Professor Martin here, but then I will invite the Master of Ceremony to give a presentation for token from the faculty to Professor Martin. It's your time. Maju yang lain mudah. Speeder aja dulu tuh.
Okay, thank you to the moderator and also our distinguished speaker. That was a very insightful lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, as a token of our appreciation, we would like to present a certificate and a plaque to Associate Professor Martin Andang. Let me invite the Dean of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science to present the certificate and plaque to our esteemed speaker. For Professor Dr. Andes Suarji Anas, MSc PhD, the floor is yours.
Lama.
Please give applause.
Now we are ready to go to our sudden speakers. Yeah, because they are not prepared actually to talk today, but it's just my ideas in order to give them an opportunity to share something with you all, so that we can have a benefit knowing what they are doing, as well as the opportunity that one day we may have joint research or collaboration with them. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Yamati from ITS. The slide, have you prepared a slide, please? Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam. Ini bahasa. Senang sekali saya berada di sini. Beberapa waktu yang lalu saya juga berdiri di sini sebagai salah satu sahabat terbaik Pak Subair di bidang biopolimer. Perkenalkan, nama saya Januarti Jayaka Putri, tapi biasanya dipanggil Yani karena namanya panjang banget. Saya lahir besar di Jayapura, di Papua. Jadi kalau ke Makassar, kenapa saya senang? Karena kita bicara bahasa. Malas sekali bicara bahasa Indonesia tuh. Saya dosen di ITS, di Institut Teknologi 10 November di Teknik Sipil. Saya juga adalah reviewer LPDP. Jadi bagi student yang mau dapat tips and trick untuk dapat beasiswa, bukan dapat beasiswa tapi bagaimana menghadapi wawancara dengan reviewer, tips-tipsnya seperti apa, mungkin saya bisa nanti kalau misalnya ingin ketemu saya atau mungkin chat dengan saya juga boleh ya, tapi nggak boleh disebarin.
Professor Januari
Kalau
was one of the reviewer of LPDP, so any students want to go to Australia or other countries that she can.
I'm the reviewer. So I know the tips and tricks how to get a scholarship. Oke, ini slide-nya apa kita? Belum, masih tunggu ya. Oke, jadi sampai saat ini dari tahun 2005 saya sudah riset geopolimer mungkin selama 20 tahun ya, 20 tahun. Jadi berkaitan dengan low carbon, geopolimer ini adalah salah satu material yang memproduksi karbon paling rendah, dan itu pun juga mungkin karena alkali yang kita pakai, solutions yang kita pakai itu harus dibakar, harus dipersiapkan sehingga sedikit karbon emisi yang bisa dihasilkan. Namun demikian, next ya, kita lihat slide-nya, apa saja yang bisa kita kerjakan. Saya nggak terlalu banyak akan detail gitu. Mulai dari pasta, itu kita tidak menggunakan pasir, kita menggunakan pasir, sampai kita membuat beton, kita bisa absorb CO2. Bahwa kita tidak reduce CO2, kita tidak mengurangi emisi CO2, tapi kita ganti menjadi usaha yang negatif karbon. Jadi permukaan geopolimer ini atau mungkin pori yang ada di dalam geopolimer ini dalam bentuk pasta, mortar atau beton itu bisa absorb CO2. Jadi negatif karbon sebetulnya. Itu yang sedang kami kerjakan di ITS. Lanjut. Nah, ini adalah aplikasi, bisa jadi artificial aggregate. Jadi geopolimer itu bisa kita crush, kita jadikan artificial aggregate. Kemudian bisa menjadi surface applied protection seperti yang dikerjakan Pak Subair, tapi mungkin nanti kita bisa aplikasikan di daerah marine, karena biasanya di daerah laut itu Portland cement tidak bisa menghalau klorida, jadi akhirnya beton menjadi gampang berkarat dalamnya. Jadi material refractory, jadi concrete pipe spesiali untuk kalau pemandian air panas atau sewage atau limbah itu bisa pakai geopolimer. Terus kemudian, nah ini yang menarik, mungkin kerjasama dengan biologi dan kimia. Saya memasukkan bakteria di dalam beton geopolimer, dalam pasta geopolimer. Kemudian kita crush, kita jadikan dia agregat, kita masukkan ke dalam beton apa saja, dan apabila crack terjadi pada beton, maka akan sembuh sendiri. Terutama kalau beton kita berada di dalam tempat yang kita tidak bisa lihat. Sulit sekali kita melakukan perbaikan, tahu-tahu sudah karat. Nah, bagaimana kalau beton itu dia bisa sembuh sendiri karena ada microbial agent yang ada di dalam situ. Kemudian yang terakhir adalah 3D printing geopolimer, karena kita juga mungkin di tempat-tempat tertentu yang tidak bisa dijangkau manusia, di nuklir, tempat yang reaktor nuklir yang mungkin berbahaya, radioaktif dan lain-lain, kita bisa membuat robot 3D printer yang bisa melakukan printing untuk geopolimer. Lanjut. Ini juga saya tunjukkan, kita isolasi bakteria, microbes, kemudian kita masukkan ke dalam pasta geopolimer, terus kemudian kita crush, kemudian dia jadi powder. Isinya adalah spora dari bakteri yang tidak mudah mati. Jadi dia mempunyai daya tahan hidup yang lebih lama, bahkan hidup lebih lama daripada saya. Mungkin 100 tahun atau 200 tahun dia bisa bertahan menjadi spora. Lanjut. Nah, ini adalah mungkin bisa diklik lagi biar keluar refractory materialnya. Oke. kita menggunakan lumpur Sidoarjo volcanic ash, Sidoarjo volcanic mud. We call it Lucy, lumpur Sidoarjo. Lumpur is mud, Lucy is sea is Sidoarjo, where the airport in Surabaya located. And then the name becomes beautiful, Lucy, but the appearance is not beautiful, ya, it's just a mud. And we have a red mud, kita punya red mud, itu hasil dari penambangan emas dan penambangan bauksit. Kita akan membuat shamot. Shamot itu adalah agregat buatan yang ada di dalam refractory bricks. Kita punya semen, kita punya power plant, itu kita perlu adanya insulasi, ruangan yang tidak gampang rusak karena suhu di atas 1000 derajat Celcius. Dan perlu adik-adik sekalian ketahui, shamot ini masih impor dari Thailand. Jadi shamot ini masih mahal dan kita bisa buat dari geopolimer. Dan sudah ada mahasiswa saya satu tugas akhir TA yang sudah selesai. Terus kemudian untuk red mud, karena red mud ini dia permukaannya mengandung sodium hydroxide, dia menjadi CO2 absorbent. Jadi dia ngambil, dia sebagai absorbent. Terus kemudian di dalamnya kita titipi bakteri, terus kita jadikan agregat, jadi dia bisa ambil semua CO2. Terus kemudian terakhir kita masukkan dia di dalam beton. Yang terakhir adalah baru dikerjakan oleh mahasiswa PKN dan masuk ke PIMNAS Bapak. Itu adalah mereka bikin dari Kalimantan Power Plant, kemudian mereka bikin artificial agregat. Terus mereka menyelesaikan masalah air asam tambang, absorbing the mine acid water. We have a lot in Kalimantan. Ya. Kemudian diambil pada saat dia sudah saturated, sudah jenuh, dimasukkan ke dalam beton dan ternyata menghasilkan NaP10. Oh ya. Ya. Lanjut. Ya, oke. Ini macam-macam, ada yang dari sulfo, ada yang dari metakaolin dari sulfo, Australia. Terus kemudian ada juga prekursornya. Prekursor itu adalah binder yang bisa kita pakai untuk jadi bahan geopolimer. Jadi kita nggak pakai portland semen sama sekali. Ada yang pakai portland semen, nanti mungkin kolaborasi dengan Pak Agus ya. Masih ada mainan saya yang lain Pak. Terus ada yang pakai 100% Lucy, 100% fly ash, 100% metakaolin, and mix. Ya, jadi propertinya macam-macam. Kita lanjutkan, sudah hampir selesai. Dan yang terakhir adalah geopolimer, itu adalah fire resistant, sulfate resistant, chloride resistant. Jadi kita buktikan bahwa dia bisa diaplikasikan di aggressive environment, bisa di laut, bisa di udara kali ya, kan ada yang pakai buat pesawat ya supaya tahan terhadap kebakaran. Laut, darat, air, ya udara, jadi kayak ya antimo ya. Lanjut. Ini macam-macam prekursor ya, jadi ada yang jelas harus ada silika dan alumina, juga bisa menyelesaikan masalah limbah gipsum. Jadi bisa menyelesaikan masalah nikel, bisa menyelesaikan masalah litium. Jadi yang paling ujung itu adalah material byproduct, mungkin di waste material yang bisa kita isolate dengan menggunakan geopolimer. Lanjut. Nah ini we don't use water. That's very interesting. Water can be used only for drinking. Jadi untuk minum, untuk gardening, bukan untuk konkrit. Tapi portland semen harus pakai air bersih. But geopolimer, we just use seawater. Ya, jadi air untuk diminum, bukan untuk konkrit. Jadi akhirnya untuk geopolimer kita menggunakan air laut. Kita pakai air laut sebagai bahan alkali aktivatornya. Dan berhasil, it works. Okay, next. Final slide, one part geopolimer. Jadi problemnya itu di geopolimer kita harus bikin alkali aktivator kan, seperti yang dibuat Pak Subair ini kan ada yang one part ya. Jadi kita menggunakan limbah silika dari brine, dari geothermal, itu kan silikanya banyak banget tuh. Nah kita combine dengan menggunakan NaOH, kita bakar sedikit untuk kita kurangi, kita rubah sedikit mineralnya, dan kita buat Lucy 100%, fly ash 100%, dan combination Lucy dan fly ash dengan one part, dan ya kuat tekannya bagus sekali. Saya kira itu saja dari saya. Siapa yang tertarik mau sekolah, UTS atau ke Murdok, silakan. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Bu Yan. saya yakin betul dalam beberapa tahun ke depan akan banyak mahasiswa dari sini yang akan berada di bawah bimbingan Prof. Yani, insyaallah. Juga rekan-rekan dosen yang menjadi lanjut S3 nanti bisa berhubungan dengan Prof. Yani. Our next speaker will be Professor Tania. If you want to, if you have a slide, then you can bring your computer. Otherwise, you can just talk.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Tanya Urmi. I'm a professor in the energy and I'm also the deputy dean of this school. So I thought I'd show what we are doing at the school and other researches you might be interested in. So next slide, please. So that's our building actually where we sit. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional people in this land where we are here. So next slide, please. So yeah, just keep on pressing because there are some. Yeah. So next. So it will come. Yeah. So we have research in renewable energy and system grid where you ask that question to us. We have solar PV and wind research and Professor Suwei was with us doing the solar material research long back. We have hydrogen and energy storage research. So one of my colleagues is making a battery anode with the mango seed and eggshell, just to see how we can actually use the recycled materials into the active materials for energy. We do have policy and regulation, so that's one of my areas, energy modeling, policy analysis. We also had lots of work on energy and water efficiency. Martin works in water efficiency and us, we do the energy one. In terms of the energy transition and sustainable development, we did lots of roadmap for different countries. Actually, we did the roadmap for Indonesia for sustainable development, sustainable energy goal roadmap with the United Nations. And then biomass to waste. One of my colleagues is having a new coal, develop a new coal from biomass, and he said it's a new coal which he use all the residue materials from biomass, and that coal that can be used as making like green steel and all those applications. And last but not the least, although this is electrical power system, so we have a group of researchers who work on the main system, how we generate power from the renewable or district energy systems or from the roof, and then bring it to connect it to the main grids and how it works. So in terms of those areas. Next slide, please. So that is the courses that we have under our school. So we have Master of Engineering Practice of different area of expertise, so smart area, renewable and electric power system. We have industrial control and autonomous systems, so where we work with robots and drones and also the industrial system analysis. Then environmental and sustainable energy systems, which is Martin and I and also other energy colleagues working. And then we also have a Masters of Renewable and Sustainable Energy course, which is, we are running this is the 27 years. So we are one of the oldest in the world, the pioneer who teaches in these areas. Next slide, please. So as this is the renewable energy research areas and some of the details, I will leave these slides with Professor Suwei so you can get more information. So just quickly tell about, we have a wind expert who work on the offshore wind. Now we have lots of projects we are doing on the offshore wind. We are also making the wind blade using the recycled materials, so that's research is ongoing. We also work on the smart power and electrical and converters, so that's one of the strengths in our engineering department. but also the microgrids areas, the decentralized microgrids. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah. So we have this innovative control strategies that we do for microgrids. So that's one of the area we have our expertise, and not only in Australia, we are in the world. Our research groups have a place in this area. Next, please. The energy efficiency and decarbonization. So decarbonization is one of the areas we have provide a short course on decarbonization, and then the energy efficiency area. We are also working on critical minerals pathways decarbonization for the future. So anyone who is interested in this area can talk with us. Next slide, please. This is the research that we did using the hemp materials for the building materials. Next, please. This Martin already talked about this. Next, please. Next, also, yeah. And then next. Yes, so these are sustainable development areas we work. As you can see, we also include the passive analysis where we work with the social science people to develop all this framework. And the next one, please. Next one, please. So this is the coal I mentioned. So we just have it with the different materials of the things, and you can actually use it and it comes from the pyrolysis. We actually can use it any materials that goes to the landfill. Next, please. And this is the mango seed that I just mentioned that make the anode with the mango seed, and this is from the energy storage. Next, please. And this is the industrial and control research that our colleagues are doing in different areas. So this is one of the areas that we can actually use in any sorts of areas, and we need them. Next, please. So these are the research areas. This is my last slide here. So if you think it's any of the areas, and these are so related to each other, we don't want it to work one silo things, and so that's our idea. We always look at as a holistic approach of things, any research, and I can catch your name, but that's one of the research area that we always think, okay, what are the options we have, which way we need to go. And looking at the embodied energy and other things for that particular research. So thank you very much, and I will welcome you to come and to do research with us, even in master's or PhD. And we can also do the joint supervision, which I mentioned to your Professor Subay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Tania. I imagine that one or two of my colleagues here will pursue the PhD with you and Professor Martin in environmental engineering as well as energy technology. Why? Because this faculty actually just opened a new study program. The name is Science Environmental. Is that right? Science environmentally science or science environmental? Science environment. So this will be related, and then in physics we are planning to have a new kind of research group, which is energy study. So yeah, this right, yeah. So that will be related to what you have just mentioned. So hopefully our potential students will pursue the master's as well as the PhD program under the supervision of Professor Tania and Professor Martin. Last but not least, Professor, who wants to say something? Thank you.
I'll just speak from here. I will be very brief because we've got an aeroplane, a plane to catch. Good morning, Selamat pagi. So I'm Jacqueline Lowe, and I'm the director of the Indo-Pacific Research Centre. So my research centre doesn't do undergraduate teaching. I'm very privileged to be able to work with wonderful senior colleagues like Tanya and Martin, and to welcome visiting fellows, including Professor Januati to our group as well. We've got 33 academic staff and a big cohort of associates and honorary research fellows. Our main goal at the IPRC, do look us up online, is to form multidisciplinary and trans and interdisciplinary research expertise to address major problems in the Indo-Pacific region, our region, the region that we live in and share with you. And that includes environmental challenges, political challenges, social and cultural. There's a lot going on in our part of the world, and all these issues are often intermeshed. They're all, integrated, and so to answer these big complex challenges like climate change, we need to work together, not just across the region, but in terms of different cultures and countries working together, but different disciplines working together in the ways that we've already been discussing. And so I'll give you an example. The reason why we're in Makassar in the last 2 days has been to work on a project on low carbon building materials, and you've seen a lot of it, but with a view to knowledge sharing across Australia and Makassar in particular. And we're looking at it from a very holistic view, from innovating products to bringing on board our industry partners. So we visited Kala Beton, we brought our Australian industry partners, Suvo Critical Minerals, to the table as well, because we need to understand commercialization and how experimentation from your lab, what it takes then to be productive and be of interest to industry at scale. And for that to happen, we need to understand economics, we need to understand finance, we need to understand a whole range of issues that we would call political economy that the issues are based in. So we need to understand how elites, what's happening. You've just had elections at the national scale. You're having local elections. That influences what happens in education and in research and in terms of commercialization as well. So, and then we go on to looking at regulations, compliance frameworks, and understanding how all this, as Martin was saying, you can't innovate on one end and assume that your end product is just going to slot into that flow. You've got to co-design so much of what we do, our knowledge productions from whatever disciplines we come from, with a view to this wider environment. And so that's something that my centre hopes to do in terms of bringing together different disciplines, beginning to talk. It's a way like, I think of disciplines, and I come from the social sciences, it's like speaking different languages, right? So it's not easy. You don't just form a group and you can speak one language with one vision. You might have one vision of one idea of what you would like to do together, but we will have to find a methodology drawn from all our different discipline-specific methodologies to begin to work on an interdisciplinary practice. And that's the sort of really exciting challenge that IPRC is doing, and that I would invite you to think about as you're deepening your own disciplinary expertise, to understand that your work is within a wider context as well. Thank you.
I came to my mind, Professor Loh, Professor Martin, and Pak Duta. This university has a mission, official, as an entrepreneurship university. But then what Professor Loh mentioned is just amazed me that we really need to have a body in this university who can bind all the scientific or academia as well as the products to sell it out. That's the one that we don't have in this university. So we work on laboratory and then stop there. It's a dead valley. Dead valley. It's a lubang besar, masuk ke dalam aja, jadi science for science, not science for humanity. So it's impossible to be an entrepreneurship university if there is no such a body. We are engineer, we are scientist person. Please, you don't have to work to sell it out. Give them who the an expert on the area. All right. Here we are forcing to sell our own product. Hello, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We speak it. So thank you very much for sharing that. It's just it just come to my awareness about the importance of this, the meaning of entrepreneurship in this university, because it's written in the wall of this university. This university is entrepreneurship university. Hey, hello, it doesn't make sense if you don't have such word. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I will ask my dean in order to facilitate more talking about this one in the future. Hopefully that, yeah. Doesn't work. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's make our own body in this faculty. So that imagine it, Professor Hartati here from biology. Last year we produced nanomaterials that we can cure a wound in a very short time. We work with researchers from Bulgaria, but we don't know how to sell it.
We have a nanomaterial expert, Eddie Kern.
Yeah.
He developed lots of things. One is the burning bar
Bulgaria.
in that area.
Yes, sure.
Our country will come here also.
Okay. Last, I wanted to say to all my students, please join me to be one of the Australia alumni. Please. Don't just stay here in Indonesia. Please go outside, open your mind, open your peripheral vision. All right? Just back here. It's just in your way back. It's just 4 hours by flight to Perth from Bali. It's very simple. All right? But then please improve your English, improve your scientific achievement, knowledge, and then you will be survived. Somebody, when they arrive in Australia and then in the airport, they will ask a question. Okay? They said that, how do you find Australia? And they said, from the bed. So please learn English more. And here we have international class program. So
from my experience, so far I supervised 4 Indonesian students, still having one which you mentioned yesterday, and I have a best experience with them. For each of those PhD, I published 4 to 5 keywords journal papers. So I'm really pleased with the knowledge that you gather in your undergrad and research that
jadi kita bukan kaleng-kaleng. So thank you very much, Prof. Martin, Dr. for sharing with us. Because time is limited, we have to rush to the airport because the flight will be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it may take